Good morning, Cincinnati. Today we are coming to you from our new studio in Anderson Township, and we need to give a big thanks to Anderson Township for allowing us to do this. We'd like to welcome our television audience, our present members, and our guests. And again, this is a real privilege to get to do this. I was watching television the other day, and when you really don't think about it a lot, but it is a privilege to get to be on television, to have other people participate in what we're doing, especially in Toastmasters. And it sounds to me like in order to watch Toastmasters on television, you're going to sit up till 2 in the morning or something. Sounds like it comes at night. So if you're watching this at night, you know, it is a privilege, it's an honor. I'd like to welcome a new member for one. And I think she probably joined today, and she's already a Toastmasters member of 3 other clubs, it sounds like. So this lady is really going the extra step. Let's give a good hand to Tiffany Everett. We have another person, a gentleman that has, I think, from West Virginia or Virginia, and has been to Toastmasters before. And his name, and he's actually here today as a visitor, but we're going to prompt him into joining. Dilip Kamath. Welcome. And here's another guest that I've talked with by phone. We've emailed and sent directions and all this kind of stuff. And you never know when you talk to somebody on the phone, you know? I mean, especially if you're in business and you're talking to people, and it's the old checks in the mail thing, you know? And I said, I wonder if Wanda will really show up. Well, Wanda Jones has shown up today. She's an HR manager, I believe is what it is. Group HR manager for Expedex, Tri-State Group in Southfield. So let's welcome Wanda Jones. But let's go ahead and welcome our Toastmaster for today, Kormelink.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome everyone and our television viewing audience. We're going to have a great meeting today. We have 3 speakers. My job as the MC of the meeting is to keep things flowing and moving smoothly and form a bridge between the various parts of the meeting. And our Tabletopics master today, I forgot to tell you, Mary Arms is our timer, and she'll make sure that each speech does not go over the time, and that helps all of us to learn to speak within a given time period to express our thoughts precisely. Our Tabletopics, I missed the humorist because I had you first, and then I will introduce Steve first as the humorist, and then because he's going to go right into the Tabletopics, I'll do both introductions. The humorist is going to tell us about great truths about life because he likes to add a little humor into the meeting, lighten up, share a funny story or joke. And then he will go right into the Tabletopics with quotes about birthdays. Oh, I wonder why. My 75th birthday today. And he will remind us to not take ourselves too seriously. Reflections on birthdays, thinking on our feet. He is the vice president of membership. He's a longtime Toastmaster, belongs to several clubs, and he is also just had an open house at his club where they brought in 6 new members, and we're going to be having an open house at our club on May the 10th. So let us welcome Steve Ahrenholz. And I'm not going to come back. You just go right in together.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests, and our guests watching in from home. I was looking for something to use in today's role as humorist, and I was looking on the internet last night, and I came to a website called truthbook.com. I thought I would share a couple of the thoughts that they had there. Great truths about life that little children have learned. When your mom is mad at your dad, don't let her brush your hair. You can't trust dogs to watch your food. I know that's true with my one dog. He'll eat anything that's not nailed down. You can't hide a piece of broccoli in a glass of milk. That sounds like a real practical one for kids. A couple of great truths that adults have learned. Raising teenagers is like nailing Jell-O to a tree. That conveys quite a mental image, doesn't it? Wrinkles don't hurt, and that families are like fudge, mostly sweet with a few nuts. Now, great truths about growing old. Growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. I like that one. How about this one? Forget the health food. I need all the preservatives I can get. And then, time may be a great healer, but it's a lousy beautician. And then I'm going to leave you with the 4 stages of life. First, you believe in Santa Claus. Then, you don't believe in Santa Claus. Then, you are Santa Claus. And finally, you look like Santa Claus. As Carol mentioned, I have Tabletopics as well, which is where I'm going to read a quote, and I will ask the respondent to come up here and give us their perception of what that quote means, or some definition of how they think that applies, whatever they want to do with it as far as an interpretation. I went looking for some quotes on birthdays because I thought that seems to be what our theme is like today. The first one is, the best birthdays of all are those that have not yet arrived. Darren, would you give us your perspective on what the quote, the best birthdays of all are those that haven't arrived?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletopics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. I think that's a very appropriate quote. I had a big birthday this year myself. I turned 40 years old. And I can remember thinking 10 years ago when I was 30, boy, 40 is old. And now that I'm 40, I'm thinking, boy, 50 is old. But as you go along, what you realize is that each birthday, as you go along, it appears that it's a huge distance. And I can remember thinking when I turned 36 that, wow, I've been out of high school half my life now. And as you hit those milestones, it does make you think that you gain a lot of perspective as you get older. And I know I can remember just thinking back on it, it seemed like it took forever to get to 18, and now 18 to 40 just kind of flew by. I think that's just because our perspective changes as we get older. But I think that is a very appropriate quote, because also, now that I'm 40, I'm looking forward to turning 98, 99, and 100. When you're 18, all you're looking towards is 21. So your perspective definitely changes once you get older. So I think that's really what that quote means. The older you get, the more you begin to appreciate aging and appreciate each birthday. Madam Toastmaster, Topic Master, thank you.
Thank you, Darren. That's a really good response. I remember 40. I remember 50. A quote by Jonathan Swift is, "May you live all the days of your life." May you live all the days of your life, by Jonathan Swift. And to reflect on that, I am going to ask Gordon Kelly to come up here and give us his reflection on the quote, "May you live all the days of your life." Gordon?
Thank you, Steve. May you live all the days of your life. Well, as everyone knows, I came close to not living all the days of my life back on January 5th of 2005, which is the date I had the heart attack, and I think everybody's heard the speech at least once, how that went. And all the days of your life, when I was younger, I used to not even worry about living to be 90, 100 years old, because my great-grandmother and my grandmother both lived to be in their 90s and really never went to the doctor and that sort of thing, died in their sleep, so I figured I would live forever anyway. I wasn't really worried about it. But once I had the heart attack, I used to be a big planner and would plan for the future. And once I had the heart attack, I kind of gave up that sort of thing. I don't plan as much anymore. I just assume that the future's going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I really got over a lot of that stress or just the pre-planning for the future, which is probably a good thing, because I used to way over-plan. I mean, I had everything planned out for the future and all the days of my life in the future, because you really don't know what the next day is going to bring. There's no way to know that. It's impossible to know that. One of the things, though, that surprised me is that when going through all that, and then you have a heart attack right on the spot just like that, And I always tell the story how my wife was next to the bed and she continued to ask me if I was ready to die. Now, she, of course, meant that in a religious way. And are you ready to die? And I said, I'm ready to go. And the thing when I look back at that is I had no fear of dying at that time. Although normally I had a big fear of dying. You know, up to that point, I would fear the fact that you might die. But once it like happened, I didn't have any fear at all. Excuse me. So all the days of my life, I'm looking forward to whatever that means in my future, and just expect I'll have a few more days. And I'm here at Toastmasters today, so what else matters, right? Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Gordon. Jack Benny is quoted as saying, "Age is strictly a case of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter." I'm going to ask Dilip to come up and give us his perspective on Jack Benny's quote, "Age is strictly a case of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter." Dilip?
Which is the one again? I forgot.
Oh, it is, age is strictly a case of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Whether you're young or old, it really matters. What really matters is how you think. Whether you think positive, whether you think negative, whether you pick and choose based on your learnings, and whether you want to look at it as a dashboard or a rearview mirror. It's what you think. And if you think positive, positive actions come out of it. And if you are not really paying attention to the events in your life and not thinking the right way, then it doesn't really matter where you're going. So to go in a positive direction, to go where you want to go, I think we all have to pay attention to events in our life.
Thank you, Dilip. Good response. Cora Harvey Armstrong is quoted as saying, "Inside every older person is a younger person, wondering what the hell happened." I'm going to ask Sheila Mudd Baker to come up and respond to that quote. Would you like me to read the quote once more for you?
No, you don't need to read that quote. Every morning I look in the mirror and wonder who that is. I always expect to see someone who's exactly half my age. Because once I hit that age, I decided I was never going to age. I didn't realize that mind over matter sometimes doesn't work. I just said, oh my goodness. All of you out there who say, it's okay. If I had it to do all over again, I'd have my face and body preserved from when I was 30 and just keep that and keep that and keep that, because I always thought that was the ideal age. Now, I think when I'm 80 or 90, I'll think that where I am right now is the ideal age. That's probably true. I mean, the only things that probably won't change are my ears, which might get a little longer, and I might settle a little more around the center. But if I could still walk, still talk, still come to Toastmasters, still have fun, life is good. So, Mr. Toastmaster, I just won't look in the mirror anymore.
Thank you, Sheila. I thought you would have a good insight on that for us. Madam Toastmaster, do we have time for one more? Or? Okay, well, I think we'll adjourn our table topics portion of the meeting, and I will turn it back to our Toastmaster, Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Tabletopics Master, for those insightful topics that we had today. First speaker, I always like to hear his speeches because he thinks outside the box. Rick Davis is going to tell us how not to buy a car. He's a former instructor for Communiversity Auto Care and Repair. He has taught classes at UC on auto care and repair, so he knows how not to buy a car. Let us welcome Rick Davis, how not to buy a car. Rick Davis.
You get to be a DTM and then you don't worry about manuals or time. You just talk. As Carol stated, I at one point in my life taught at Communiversity auto care and repair. And we used to talk about how to take care of your car and make it run longer and all that sort of thing. But one of the things that everybody liked was a session on how to buy a car, because everybody hates buying cars, it seems like. You're always at a disadvantage. So I came up with a number of rules that, when you think about it, I think you'll agree is a good way to buy a car. First of all, when you go to the lot, when you go to the dealer, don't fall in love with a car. Whatever you do, do not fall in love with a car, because they have you over a barrel. And they want you to fall in love with that car. They want you to take that car for a drive. They want you to borrow it over the weekend. They want you to really gain an emotional attachment to that car. So whatever you do, don't fall in love with that car. Be willing to walk away from the deal. So you've been negotiating, and all of a sudden you realize this isn't a very good deal. I'm not going to do this. Be willing to walk out the door, go to the next dealer, do it again. Be sure to drive the car. Be sure you get a chance to drive the car, because a lot of times the car just does not fit the way you drive. It's too big for you, too small for you. Things aren't where you think they should be, that sort of thing. So be sure and drive the car. Don't buy a new car. A new car is a bad investment. A new car, as soon as you drive that off the lot, it decreases in value like 50%. And if you do buy a new car for some crazy reason, don't pay the sticker. The sticker is there just for entertainment. It's not there for a real price. Always remember, this is number 5, always remember that a car is a way of getting from point A to point B. That's all it is. It's a way of getting from point A to point B. So you don't need the biggest fancy car. You don't have to pay for that deluxe air conditioning, heated seats, all these sorts of things. So don't pay for the deluxe stuff. And remember that a car is just a means of transportation. And the best way to handle negotiations, over the internet. It's a wonderful way, do it with email, all that sort of thing. So this is what I've been telling my class for years. These are the things you always have to remember when you go into that car dealer. And they're at an advantage. They sell cars, 5, 6, 7 cars a month. You buy maybe one car every 4 or 5 years, so you're at a disadvantage. Okay, so this was all great stuff, right? I knew this inside and out. And it was all working great until April of 2005. April 2005, I was watching Donald Trump on The Apprentice, and kind of a interesting little show. We like to watch it, everything. And that particular night, the task was to make up a brochure for a new car that Pontiac was coming out with. So, make this brochure. They showed shots of this car, and I said, wow, this is a nice car. This is a great looking car. It's a little 2-seater car, convertible, looked like something really spacey, space age with the tunnels on the trunk lid. And I did a bad thing. I fell in love with that car. I'd never been in one. I'd never seen one in person, but I liked that car. I really loved that car. It was one of the prettiest cars that I'd seen in a long time. And during the course of the show, they started talking about what they hoped to do with the car. And one of the things was they hoped to bring it in at a reasonable price. So they were talking about this little 2-seater toy car, somewhere between $19,000 and $24,000, which, it's a lot of money, but still it's not a crazy European car, Porsche, something, that's just incredibly out of our league. So it turned out this car's, I thought it was a Ford. I thought it looked like a Lotus Ford or something, but it turned out it was a Pontiac. It was a Pontiac Solstice. And they had a big deal to get you into the dealership. The first 1,000 cars are going to have special little plaques on them, and they're going to give you things and tote bags and all this sort of thing. And they're trying to get everybody in there to buy one of these cars. And Trump was on Tuesday night, and the cars went on sale on Friday. So it was a big opportunity to get in there. Well, I didn't go in on Friday, and all the time I'm thinking, this is crazy. We don't need a new car, all that good stuff. But I told Sharon about the car, my wife, and she was intrigued. And so Saturday, we went in and talked to Pontiac just to gather some information. And it turned out that we put a deposit down on one of these cars. Now, they didn't have one on the showroom floor. I couldn't drive one, but I was in love. And they made it easy. All you had to do was write them out a personal check. They were going to staple that check to your file. They weren't going to cash it. They were just going to keep it there. So then the countdown started. The car was not going to be ready until November, or October, November is what they thought. And the first 1,000 had been sold in the first hour that the car went on sale. So we started calling them every month, call Pontiac every month. Now, is the car really going to be delivered? Are you really going to build this thing? They ran into a few problems here and there. They ran out of parts. They had a little labor problem. But finally, the Monday before Thanksgiving, we got our car, took delivery of our car. And the love affair continued. The following April, we took it out for a trip around the United States. We just drove it all over the United States. Nobody believed that we could drive a little two-seater car about 8,000 miles, but we did. And last year, we drove it to Florida. It's a great little car out on the highway, just a lot of fun. And on the way back, we visited Savannah, Georgia. That was another thing that Sharon wanted to do. Wanted to visit Savannah, Georgia to find out where Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil had been filmed and taken place. And then June, I'm going to drive out to Massachusetts for a class that I'm going to be taking, a 2-week class. And then in August, we're going to drive down to New Orleans. So what did I learn? First, falling in love with a car is okay if you understand the pitfalls. And sometimes you can't walk away from a deal. They're the only game in town. And be sure to drive the car unless they don't have one and your car hasn't been made yet. Buying a new car is an adventure. Everyone should own at least one new car in their life. Sometimes the sticker is the only price that they'll take. And a car may be a way of getting from point A to point B, but sometimes the journey is half the fun. Madam Toastmaster?
Great, Rick, and you look good in that car. I think they call that a chick magnet. I'm not sure. Welcome, Anita Barron, 3 built-in tools.
Thank you and welcome. I'm very honored to be here. I feel like this is a very important tool, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to everyone about this. You've seen me do a lot of speeches about animals, and believe it or not, animals are in this one as well. But it is about the people and how the people can help the animals if they help themselves. So why do we do the things that we do? You know, you do something, you go, ugh, why'd I do that? Or you'll not do something, and you'll basically go, if I only did that, I know I could get ahead. But why do we not do it? And so and most people struggle with that all their life. And so I have an answer to that is going to help you understand in a very simplistic way how we do the things we do and why we don't do the things we know would help us. We think in pictures. If I ask everyone to think of a car, well, thinking of a car would be, okay, probably your car, because that's the one you're very familiar with. You think about the color, the seats, how the texture of the seats, and how the 4 doors, 2 doors, and how it feels to drive it. So you get a visual picture. What if I ask you to think of a refrigerator? More than likely, you're going to think about your own refrigerator. Which way does it open? What color? You know, it feels cool whenever you open the doors. When I ask you to think about your mind, what comes up is a picture. More than likely, it's the gray matter, bulk of matter stuff that you have, you know, as a brain. Well, that's the brain. That gray matter is essentially no more your mind than your fingertip. And so I went ahead, because of the short time that I have here, I went ahead and drew out the form for the stick man. And we have, in the 1930s, Dr. Thurman Fleet was the gentleman that come up with this visual idea how to look at our mind. And so we're not going to cover all this. We're just going to kind of glaze through this and get to what I'm going to talk about today, the 3 tools. We're going to make this big circle. Of course, this is about the stick man's about the way I go with drawing people, so this works for me. The big circle right here is your mind. The little circle is your body. And then your mind, your body, your actions, and of course results come from your actions, okay? Well, in your mind, let's draw a line, just split it. In the top part, you got your conscious mind. That's your thinking mind. Your free will is there. You can choose whatever thoughts you put in your mind and keep in your mind. In the bottom half, your subconscious mind. That's your emotional, your feeling part of your mind. It has no ability to determine what's right or wrong. Whatever the conscious mind puts into it, it has to take. So if it's putting in positive things, it goes, positive things are put in, and you feel positive. If you put in negative things, that's what comes out, just like a computer. Trash in, trash out. That's the way you look at the computer. Your self-image is down in your subconscious mind. And of course, our self-image, in a big part, is created when we're very little, when we really don't have a reasoning mind at that point. We're like an open gully here, and whatever's dumped in from our parents, from our environment, from our teachers, that's what comes in, and that's what we go, okay, that's what it is. And that's what the subconscious does. So our self-image is always right in this subconscious. We have our 5 senses that are our external factors. Our see, our hear, our smell, our taste, our touch. Those things, basically, we're so engulfed in them that they demand our attention, and we usually give it to them. So if we see something that makes us happy, we're happy. If we see something that makes us sad, we're sad. So we're to a large part in our adult life and our childhood, we are basically looking at these and going, that's the way I am. That's the way I feel. Well, there's 6 intellectual faculties that when we learn how to tap into these, they're already built into us. We are born with them. When we learn how to tap into these, then we start really thinking. And then's when we start living our life, as you were talking about. It's something that, just to go over them, perception, will, imagination, memory, intuition, reason. Well, we're only going to go over 3, although all of them are very important. But we're going to only go through 3 right now. The first one we're going to go through is perception. If I raise this up, and I want you to look at the book cover, and I'm going to say there's a cat on the front of this cover, on the cover. There's a cat on this cover. What do you say? That's not it, is it? Well, from my perspective, there's a cat on the cover. So any way we look, we got to remember when we perceive something, it's not the truth, it's our truth because of how we're looking at it. If we step around just a little 1/4 of an inch, we're seeing a whole different picture. So we always have to remember that just because something is what we see and we've determined that that's the way it is, no. Let's just turn around a little and just get a different view. And there'll be another way to look at it. The will. Now, that's not just willpower where I push against something and that's the way it is. The will is your focus. You're focusing on something. And this cue card right here is so vital. When you have a goal, you focus on that goal. And you say, anytime something of these senses come up and attract your attention, you go, how does doing this move me measurably closer to my goals? You focus on that long-range goal. If I'm doing this, is it going to take me there, further there, or is it going to take me over here, so I got to go back? Okay? So you got to remember that you got to focus. Imagination, creativity. When's the last time we were really creative in our adulthood? In the sandbox when we were kids. I mean, we were building little castles, and we got in trouble whenever we were creative. Because in school, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to listen to the teacher. So you got to be creative. And so these three tools, when we tap into those and actually become aware of these valuable tools we have, we can literally change our outlook, our success in life. And each of our goals can come to fruition when we tap into our wonderful tools. And each animal lover's mutual goal to end euthanasia of healthy and treatable homeless animals and dogs in every community, this overwhelming goal can come to fruition when each of us become aware of our available gifts and we use them to solve this issue. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Anita, for that great speech. And Tiffany Everett.
I want you all to think back to when you were a little child, when you answered that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you asked my brother, he said he wanted to be a rock climber and a doctor. If you asked me, I wanted to be like Mary Lee Retton and be a gymnast. I could barely walk backwards, much less do a backflip, so that dream kind of went to the wayside right away. What I'd like to talk to our fellow Toastmasters and guests and audience at home about today is our dreams. Going through why our dreams don't come true, how our dreams can come through over time, going for our dreams and achieving our dreams. Why do our dreams not come true? There could be several things that could influence our dreams not coming to fruition. Number one, money. Gymnastics classes cost a lot of money, and my parents did not have the resources for me to attempt to be a gymnast. Also, with my lack of athletic ability, I don't think I could have used that money wisely. However, I was able to go with another dream, which I will be talking about later. People also sometimes don't have the drive to go for that dream. You say, I want to be an accountant, but then you realize, I got to go to school for 5+ years. I have to take the CPA exam, find somebody to pay for that, and take more classes and continuing ed. I don't want to do that. We also find that people are just lazy at times. They just feel, oh, I say I'm going to do this. It's never going to happen. However, one thing I have learned is that our dreams can change over time. Back when I was little, I wanted to be a gymnast. When I was about 15, 16 years old, I said I wanted to be an accountant when I grew up, age-wise. Not necessarily maturity-wise. What I've learned is my dreams adjust throughout my life. Things you have to think about when you are dreaming is that it's okay for things to change. It's okay for you to let a dream go to the wayside and have something new, as long as you have something to dream about. Which leads me to going for our dreams. I went to graduate school at Thomas More College, which is a small college in northern Kentucky. And I thought, this is great. I'm not student number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When I call in, they say, hello, Tiffany, what can I help you with today? This is wonderful. Now, if you asked me back when I was 16 years old if I would have gone to a graduate program, I would have said, that's nuts. I want to be an accountant. I want to be a mom. I want to do everything else. And maybe go back to school someday. If you go for your dream, you have to be willing to make work, to do sacrifices. You might have to give up things that you don't want to give up. For example, if you're going to school, you give up free time because you have to study to get the good grades so that you can get a better job and move on. Otherwise, they're going to boot you out the door and tell you that you're a failure and good luck with your life. You have to be willing to put that work in to make everything happen. You can't say, I'll do it tomorrow. You guys say, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to grab it by the horns, and I'm going to take care of business. Finally, it's the feeling of achieving your dreams and having your dreams come to fruition that is so key and so vital. I still remember in 1999 walking on the stage and collecting my MBA and seeing my grandmother in the front row in her little blue dress with her little handkerchief and purse right there, giving me the wave, which her little wave was like this. She never waved with the hand. She always waved like a queen with the wrist. And I still remember her saying, "I'm proud of you." And I looked at her and I said, "Why are you proud of me?" She goes, "You started something, you finished it. I know you wanted to quit. I can't tell you how many times." And I said, "Yes, Grandma, I know you're right. I wanted to quit 2 weeks after I started. I wanted to quit a quarter of the way through when I had the professor I hated. I wanted to quit at the halfway point because I was having no social life. I wanted to quit when my job was becoming miserable and I was not handling the drive to and from work. I wanted to quit, but you kept on saying, follow your dream, work for it, make it happen. If you don't make it happen, the only person you're going to blame for it is you. Not going to blame your mom, you're not going to blame me, you're not going to blame anybody but yourself for failing." There was such an elation with finishing that program and making it happen. If you ask me today what my dream is today is to finish traveling the 50 states. I've got 49 down and 1 to go. And that 1 to go is a pretty big one. It's Alaska. I'm hoping to get there in 2010. Things to remember. Not every dream that you have is going to come true. Number 1. Number 2, you have to be willing to accept that your dream is going to change over time. We all don't get older, we get better with age. I think age is a state of mind, and same with dreams. They get better over time. Number 3, there's nothing wrong with going for your dream. There's nothing wrong with taking a risk. If you don't take a risk, you're not going to get anywhere. I had to take a big risk today getting up on stage with about an hour's worth of preparation. It was a huge risk, but I can do it. And number 4, remember the feeling of elation and the feeling of joy and success when you have completed that dream, when you have made it to the pinnacle, be it getting a PhD, having a child, getting married, getting a new job, going on that luxurious vacation to Bora Bora, just to name an idea. If you remember to do the hard work and you're willing to make the sacrifice and willing to share your dreams, there is nothing that is going to stop you but yourself from achieving success. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I know that your trip to Alaska will come to fruition from the little that I know about you. The next portion of our meeting is the general evaluator. He will introduce the evaluation team members and evaluate the evaluators and the meeting in general. Gordon Kelly is our president. He will be our general evaluator today, and he's going to give feedback as to the organization and value of the meeting, and he will also use his past experience in evaluating professional speakers to help him when he evaluates the evaluators and our meeting in general. Let's welcome Gordon Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As general evaluator, my role is twofold, I guess. One is to introduce the evaluators as one part of it. The second part is to critique the overall meeting, to try and provide feedback to the evaluators so that if they feel that they're short somewhere, that we can hopefully improve, and of course that plays a part with all of us. The first evaluator will be, her name is Sheila Baker, and she is the first evaluator today. And one of her kind of notes that we've taken so that we can introduce them says she loves coaching, and the audience as well as the speaker needs to know the elements of a good speech. And that's kind of what we feel on her part is important to the audience. Her qualifications are, she has been a Toastmaster for 14 years, which is a long time, and she is a member of ACE Toastmasters, which specializes in evaluations. So let's welcome Sheila Mudd-Baker.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Rick, for teaching me a great deal about buying a car. I did know that I shouldn't buy a new car, but I always fall in love with new cars. And I did know that I should never pay the sticker price, but I am so happy to know that an expert like you does the same thing as the rest of us. I would like to learn more. What I really liked about this speech was that you gave us rules at the beginning, and then you tied it all together with rules at the end, how they were broken, but how the rules worked. So we had our rules, we had how they were broken, it was all tied together. I liked also having a personal speech. It's so important, I think, to people to hear personal speeches, to know what's going on in someone's life. It's nice to be able to read the rules about what you should do or shouldn't do with a car, but a car expert, like the click and clack people who are on the radio, those people talk about their personal experiences with the same kinds of cars. And for Rick to tell the kind of story that he did, it tells me that we all fall in love with things that perhaps we shouldn't buy, or maybe we should. Maybe we're falling in love with the right one. This is good. What would make this speech better? That's always the question. When we're looking at speeches, you know, we might love the speech. I'm sure the Gettysburg Address had hundreds of people evaluating in the backs of their heads, what would make this a better speech? Well, even the Gettysburg Address could be redone. But in this case, what would make this better is for Rick to use his hands more. Now, I know that's not a natural. Rick is a real button-down guy. He's close to the body. But using the hands more, it could have been, it was only this big, or it was this tall, or we're talking about the tunneling in the back, the tunnels on the tunneling on the back. Doing something more with the hands so that it's a little more animated, and possibly moving around a little bit more. Now, it's difficult to move from here because when you're on camera, we lose you. But even then, we can move over this way. You can lean over, you can come up. Now, which reminds me of the leaning over. There were a couple of times where you leaned over like this and you probably weren't aware of it. And if you want to make sure your face is seen by the camera, leaning over is probably not going to do it for you. So it's just something that you need to be aware of. It would make it even a better speech. All in all, well done. Now I know that who to call when I'm ready for my next car. And you will tell me all the things I shouldn't do, and I probably will go out and do them. Mr. General Evaluator, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Sheila. Our next evaluator will be Jerome Manigan. He is going to evaluate Anita Barron's speech. And one of the things he feels is important to the audience is that this helps the audience develop an understanding and appreciation of clear purpose and appropriate organization when crafting a speech. His qualifications, for one, is he's been in Toastmasters for 15 years. And I think when you listen to Jerome speak, you'll see he's just an overall qualified person, a great voice, and I'm sure he has great attention to what's going on here. Let's welcome Jerome Manigan.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and our visitors. It's my great pleasure to have an opportunity to share with you my thoughts about Anita Barron's speech, 3 built-in tools. Number one, Anita, being here to hear your speech is fortuitous, and it brings to fruition our desire to hear as much as possible about how we control our experiences through the right or wrong use of our mind. For those of us attracted to the mystical and metaphysical, your topic is fascinating. Your speech, title, 3 Built-in Tools, was informative and satisfied the objectives of speech 4, How to Say It. Specifically, the requirements for that speech, the requirements for the evaluator of that speech was to listen to see if the speech giver effectively communicated the message to the audience. The speaker should use clear, accurate, descriptive, and short words and choose verbs that convey action. Sentence and paragraph construction should be simple and short. The speaker needs to include rhetorical devices, avoid jargon and unnecessary words, and use correct grammar. The speech must have a clear purpose and be appropriately organized. I think that Anita met all of those requirements. I was so caught up in hearing the actual speech itself that I'm not sure that at all times I can say that the paragraphs were 3 to 4 sentences in length and so forth and so on. But I thought that you provided us with a very interesting explanation of the conscious and subconscious minds and how to effectively use them with input from the 5 physical senses. And those of us who have been on this journey for any length of time realize that the 5 physical senses can, it seems as if it's their job to present us with information that we constantly have to confront and overcome, because the 5 physical senses sometimes can be one of our worst enemies. Overall, Anita, I think you did an excellent job, and I certainly look forward to hearing more speeches from you as time goes on. I have a couple of suggestions for you. Number one, I would have liked it if you had recommended a book or some material that we could have consulted for more information on your topic. And the second observation is that I think that you made effective and excellent use of hand gestures and facial expressions and so forth and so on. And those of us who have been in Toastmasters any length of time understand that from speech to speech, we're building and we're incorporating what we have learned in previous speeches into the speech that we are currently delivering. Anita, you did an excellent job, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerome. Our next evaluator will be Verna Gibson. She will be evaluating Tiffany Everett's speech, and the importance in her perspective to the audience as far as the importance of the evaluation is that members get an immediate feedback, and that is one of the main items of evaluations, is to give immediate feedback, good or bad, to try to help us improve what we're doing.
Tiffany, I knew that I was going to enjoy this speech. I heard you recently when you gave your evaluation at the speech contest, so I knew that I had a good speech to look forward to. And considering that you did this at the very last moment you came in, you had a speech, an idea at least, in your back pocket, and you were willing to come up here and give us that speech. I was very impressed by that. Was the speech relevant to the occasion? Of course. We all have hopes. We all have dreams. And with hard work, just as Tiffany said, that we can bring those dreams to fruition. Tiffany always has good facial expression. You have a nice use of vocal variety. You use your hands very effectively. You might try using your hands a bit more just to kind of expand the space, move a little bit. But again, considering that you did this at the last moment, I am very, very impressed. I like some of your visual images. Of course, you used the example of the gymnastics, which I could relate to that. Actually, I did do gymnastics when I was younger, but I could still relate to what you were saying very easily. Also, when you spoke about your grandmother being at your graduation when you got your MBA, that was a wonderful visual image for me. So, if you do the hard work, you can achieve your dreams. The other thing that you might add to this is the part that luck plays in achieving dreams. Most successful people are very, very lucky after years and years and years of persistence and hard work. Then they have this wonderful luck. So that's a little bit of humor that you might try throwing in if you use this speech again. I like the examples that you gave of when you really wanted to quit. I also like the fact that you said dreams change over time. Just because we want something today doesn't mean that this is still going to be our dream tomorrow. It may still be a wonderful dream, but things have changed. That may no longer be our dream. So dreams do change. They are not etched in concrete. Again, Tiffany, putting this speech together at such short notice and so quickly, I think you did an excellent job. I loved your speech. I liked your speaking style. You have a great career as a Toastmaster and a public speaker ahead of you. Thank you very much.
I will return control of the meeting to our president, Gordon Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Let's do that, in fact, right now. We haven't heard from one guest, and I'm going to ask her if she'd like to say anything, make some comments on the meeting. Wanda, would you mind just commenting, give us your thoughts on what you think about this meeting? She's new. She hasn't been here before, so let's welcome Wanda Jones.
Good morning.
Really glad to have you here today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. First of all, I want to thank you for making me feel so welcome this morning. I am nervous, and that is why I got out of the bed and sort of debated whether or not I would actually come. I had committed to Gordon that I would be here. However, this has turned out to be much better than I would have ever had hoped. Each of you are so gifted, so special. And what's really perhaps the biggest surprise to me is that I know that each, in terms of our personal goals and ambitions, are working to be better human beings and better people, better men and better women. And it's just beautiful to listen to people who speak from the heart as well as from the head. So again, thank you. I look forward to coming to more meetings, and also addressing this issue that I have with being nervous in front of new people. Once I get to know you, I can't stop talking. But it's the initial ice breaking and just having an opportunity to just feel at home, and you definitely make visitors and guests feel at home. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. Second guest that we have heard from, he might have some comments. Would like to invite Dilip Kamath, if he'd like to make a comment or two here.
I joined Toastmasters a couple of years ago and wanted to become the greatest orator that we have ever seen. I attended one meeting and then thought this was not for me. And the reason was I blamed it on everything. I blamed it on my schedule. I blamed it on no time for doing this. But really it was my nervousness and jitteriness, and also the butterflies going in different directions and not able to stand in front of a crowd and talk to them. But then I made up my mind again 2 days ago, saying, let me do this again. And I looked up the website, and I saw there was one Toastmasters club right 2 miles from where I live. And I said, what better opportunity do I have to do this over again? And life is short. I want to be the greatest orator one more time, right? And after having seen CNN and all other television screens talk about all these presidential candidates coming up and standing up and giving great speeches, I am re-energized again to do this and try it one more time. But when I saw this on the website, the only thing that I saw there was Carol's birthday. So happy birthday again, Carol. and good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're a little long on our meeting today, of course, with the new studio and the setting up and that sort of thing. But want to thank our guests for coming today. Thank them for their comments and being willing to comment on the program. The spring conference is next weekend, the 25th, 26th, and 27th. If you need information about that, we can get you the information. That's not a problem. And we have an open house coming up on May 5th for any of the audience. May 10th. May 10th is the open house. So for the television audience, if you need directions or need information on that, please contact us. We will supply you with that. Is there any other comments? No other comments? At this time, TV Toastmasters Advanced Club 9523 is closed.